Well, it's interesting. I think we'll have to wait for the full details to emerge. I mean, it was interesting as sort of when Vivendi announced quite recently he's in talks with a US investor, which obviously is Pershing Square, that for various EU reasons it would have to keep the 10% stake. So there may be other things going on here, particularly around tax and some of the other implications from that. I think in terms of the valuation, the $35 billion that you've mentioned, sort of I know some of the press reports have talked about sort of $40 billion. That is I think that will be seen as slightly disappointing by many people when it comes to the valuation. There had been, Vivendi had been selling its stakes to Tencent for a valuation of 30 billion euros. But there was a feeling that the Universal Music Group could be valued at a lot more. Some of the investment banks, for example, have talked about valuations of $50 billion going for Universal Music. There's been, I think, one bank that talked about sort of a valuation of $100 billion. And so for this to be at a sort of for this valuation to come on Universal Music, I think it will disappoint those who thought that, well, this is a very valuable asset. It's obviously the leading music group company in the world. You've seen a lot of activity going on in the music space when it comes to M&A. Also, as well, when you look at the valuation, it's quite interesting. If you take someone like Warner Music Group, for example, its enterprise value at the moment is roughly sort of around $21.5 billion. Yeah, and in terms of the size of that business, probably sort of roughly is around half the revenues of Universal Music Group. So again, it might be argued that in terms of the valuation that we're talking about here for Universal Music, I think it's not as good as perhaps some of the bulls have been thinking.
But for Vivendi as a whole, does this sale actually release some value for the company? They were clearly, their intention was to sell off the units, and the initial plan was to IPO next year. They obviously tried to bring it forward, but going down the traditional listing route seemed to face a lot of hurdles. At least now there is some certainty on that question. What does it do to the rest of Vivendi?
Well, it's very interesting if you look at what this then leaves Vivendi as. I mean, you've got a collection of assets there. They are the leading French pay TV provider. They own Canal Plus, so they are sort of dominant in that market. But again, pay TV is an industry where there are structural concerns, particularly given the rise of streaming services. You then look at some of the other moves that they've been going into. They've been moving more into the publishing space, so they bought Editis. They have a large stake in Lagardère. Also as well, they've been taking stake in Prisa as well. So there is a question mark there whether they expand further into that space. An interesting one, I think, will be what happens in the agency area, because they do have an agency, Havas. It's not within the top players within the agency world, and I think there has to be a question whether, at some point, whether it would make sense, for example, for Havas to tie up with its French peer publicists to maybe create what is one of the largest agency groups in the world. So I think that's something that has been talked about for a while, and it'd be very interesting to see what happens now, sort of following this announcement. The other thing also as well that I would also point out as well, it is for Euronext, where Universal Music was supposed to IPO, then presumably this is not going to be a great outcome for them, because obviously this would have been a major IPO listing coming through in the market, and it looks as though this will now not happen.
Well, on that note, looking more broadly at the music industry, do you think that we could see more SPACs in this industry come together, or is this sort of exceptional?
I think for the major music companies, I'd say it's probably exceptional, but there's definitely the opportunity elsewhere down the line. So if you look at who the other music companies are owned by, obviously Warner is public, so it already has a public listing. I don't think there'd be any rationale why Sony or Bertelsmann would sell their music assets at the moment. There's certainly not been a indication that they would do on there. You can never say never for that. I think then if you were to then go further down the line, could you see some other music businesses perhaps looking to go down the SPAC route? For example, you have in the music industry, you have Merlin, which is a collection of independent music publishers. That has around 15% share of the market. Is this a structure that perhaps at some point the people behind that decide it could be something that's worthwhile looking at. Also, as well, if you look at what else has been happening in the space, there's obviously been a collection of music publishing rights have been bought up. Again, you've got Hypnosis, which is listed in London and so forth. But again, there may be some other collections which could be sort of a SPAC could go down this. They could go down the SPAC route. But I think, if looking at things at the moment, I think this seems as though it's a one-off.